It's Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. And we have a gorgeous day here. We had a bit of rain yesterday, which was really nice. And now we've got warm, sunny skies, and everything is growing really well, and the flowers are in bloom. This is a sweet clover year, I think. You can see it was Monday. My wife and I went through and just, we weren't planning to do this, so I still have some to do, but we added seconds to a few of these and even thirds to those. We don't want them getting away on us. And you can see the nuke yard, the nuke row over here. You'll see them. We've actually added seconds to a number of those, and we got most of them that deserved seconds, and then I ran out of boxes. So adding seconds in the 6-frame boxes is one thing, but adding the 10-frame boxes on top, that's easy stuff. So I don't really have a lot of the 6-frame boxes, so I can't do this kind of thing very much. I'm going to run out of boxes, and hopefully I can get these equalized enough that then the all 3 colonies on one pallet then can take 2 10-frame boxes at one time on top, and then they'll make honey in those boxes. So that's my challenge right now in those. I checked my cell finisher yesterday, and yeah, I don't want to report this, but I had a disaster in my finisher, but I learned something. I've reviewed my calendar, I've reviewed my process, and I do not know where things went wrong, but there's quite obviously a virgin got loose in my finisher, and she's a finisher all right. She tore down about 24 cells on me, so I'm not happy about that. I'm still looking for where I went wrong in that. The timing, I'm very confident in the timing. I keep my calendar and my timing on every graft very clear on my calendar, and there was no I was not pushing emergence. I use an incubator, and one of the reasons I use an incubator is exactly that. It helps to protect my finisher so that I don't have to leave cells in there right up until emergence. I can get them out of there in the incubator. If somebody emerges a couple of days early because maybe I made a mistake, it's not a big deal. They emerge in a cage. Somebody got out. They wreaked havoc and tore everything down, almost everything. There were some cells in there that weren't mature enough to tear down, but the bees had kind of given up on a lot of them, and so I moved everything that was existing and that hadn't been ruined over to the queenless cell starter, and so hopefully we don't get a virgin emerge in there. So I have to do more grafting. I need practice anyway, right? But you know, along with this whole grafting deal is the longer you drag out your grafting project, the older your starter gets, the older your builder gets. And you want mainly young bees in that builder. So different options. You know, I can abandon that builder. I can just turn it into queenless nukes and add a queen if I ever get a queen, and turn it into a colony that way. But there's still a lot of younger bees in there. I had a lot of capped brood that has been emerging over the past couple of weeks. I think I built that starter on like the 11th or 12th of June. You know, so that was 16 days ago. So you think everybody should be emerged by now, but I've been putting frames of sealed brood in there the whole time, periodically. So the point is, there's still a lot of young bees in there. There's still some sealed brood in it. So I'd kind of like to still use that builder. What I need to do is I need to hand pick the old bees out of that hive and put them somewhere else. So here's my solution. I decided to just use the behavior of the bees to do the work for me, and also my little tractor. So I actually just come along with my little tractor, and I picked up the pallet that cell starter is on, and I moved it, I don't know, 25, 30 feet. And then I set a few little nukes. There's one is queen right and two are queenless in its place. So those little nukes should catch the drift and benefit them. And I also get a population decrease in the cell starter, but the decrease is the older bees, which I don't want anyway in there. I guess they really don't cause too much havoc, but I don't need them in there. It gets too crowded. I'd rather have the crowdedness made up of young bees. So turn the camera around, I'll show you how this is going here. I realize it's too far away to get a good look, but I'll move up here in a minute. So that is the cell starter where I moved it to, and the cell starter was right here. So now there's three little nukes sitting here, and they should inherit a lot of the foragers from that starter, except this one. This one's going to get it. Well, either I'm going to get it or she's going to get it. So let's take a closer look at this. So you can see here that the bees on this beautiful sunny day are choosing this physical location for their hive, and they're hitting these nukes pretty hard. So these nukes are going to grow up pretty fast here, and I just moved the cell starter over here, so it's not very far away. It's maybe 25, 30 feet away, so it doesn't take that much. So the flight activity for this beautiful afternoon is not that heavy. I'm thinking that the bees on the front doorstep here are younger bees, not flying around anyway. And so it definitely has calmed down since I moved it. So these foragers are rather confused and lost. And they're definitely preferring this one on the end. So this one on the end is the queen right one, and they're inheriting a lot of bees. I imagine the other two will as well. So that's my patented method to remove the old bees from the cell starter. Here's the plan with the cell finisher. So this one here is my cell finisher, and I don't know if the virgin, I mean, I didn't see a virgin, but there's a virgin in there. That's exactly what happened for whatever reason. I don't know if the virgin has made her way past the queen excluder into the bottom box. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that box, I'm going to set it on this bottom board. This bottom board faces this way. And the reason I'm facing it this way is so that if that virgin is in there, that perhaps she'll make her way out here, she'll mate, and then begin laying in what's left of that cell finisher, because that cell finisher is now a giant mating nuke. Then I'm going to go through this one and see if I can find my queen that was in there. And if she's okay, then, that's good. At least, that one wasn't hurt, and maybe this one will mate. So if she can at least do that much for me. So I'm just going to start by taking that box and setting it on there. Hopefully it don't sting me too bad. I don't have my smoker going right now. And it's kind of full of honey, so it's pretty heavy. Okay. Now, there's a lot of young bees in the top here, of course. So they're not going to have much of a foraging force for a while, but that'll change. And so now I'm going to get my smoker going and set up and look through that bottom box. Okay, I hope I find a laying queen in the bottom of this. Just looking at this, if there's a a virgin struggling through to get through here. And I'm not even guaranteeing, and I'm not suggesting, I should say, that a virgin would be prevented from going through there. She might. We'll knock those bees off down here in case there is somebody on that. And then a good old-fashioned inspection, right? Get to do less and less of this as honey flow approaches. Kind of for obvious reasons, I think. Less necessity as the colonies are getting stronger, and less urge because of all this really heavy honey that you constantly have to deal with in doing that. I have no eggs there. I have lots of open cells, but no eggs. And my problem is I'm wearing sunglasses. Take those off. I should have picked up my little flashlight too, because I am sort of looking at the sun. Oh, there's eggs there. Okay. So, I think that is a very good sign. See, I couldn't see the eggs with the sunglasses. Because I think this happened 2 or 3 days ago. Let's keep going and see if we can find her. That story frame is just chock full of brood. And you see how, the things that the story frame tells you. The worker foundation, and I know not, this is your first video, you won't get what I mean. This frame has a piece of foundation, worker foundation in the center, right here. I know you can't see that, but trust me. So what that allows is it allows the bees to do, have more control over this area and this area because it's foundationless. It has no guide. They can do what they want. So you see that they've got drone cells here. Typically they'll build this all up with drone cells. Well, this one, they've actually reworked this into worker cells over in this part. Let's see. So the foundation ends right there. This is the delineation of the foundation. So all of this is worker cells that they've reworked that comb into something else that they wanted. And they've done the same thing on this side. They've got worker cells on the sides of the story frame. So, you wanted some wisdom as to exactly what that means. I can't give you any, but it's meaningful. It means something. Hence the story frame idea. That there may be, maybe we've got enough drones, but we want more girls. Maybe we're packed out, so we're going to favor laying workers instead of laying drones. You figure out what it means, but I'm saying that the story frame in that way tells you a story, and it gives you some insight into what the colony is thinking. Somebody crawling on my leg there. Pretty sure this queen's marked. And there's drone cells here too. This is different because this is all foundation. So they can do that anywhere. They're just more likely to do it on a place like the story frame where there isn't any foundation guide at all. And that foundation story frame gives them that place to make those drones. So you see how clean these top bars are. I'll guarantee you open your colony if you don't have a story frame, you'll have all kinds of drone brood in here, which you rip open every time you take the cover off or you take that second box off. So this is drone cell here. This is kind of crappy comb, I call it. It's just comb that's been reworked. It's not real nice worker comb anymore. worker size comb. I'm not that good at finding queens. Boy, that's a good frame for the cell builder. It's all pollen. The whole thing is pollen. Oh boy, I'm tempted. I really want to take that one. I'm going to shake them off and put this one aside. There's a little bit of younger larva there, but it's sure a beautiful pollen frame on that side. This is probably my best colony yet this year. So shaking nectar all over them when I did that. And they'll clean each other off. I'm very happy to see those eggs. That is very encouraging that perhaps whatever got into the top one didn't kill my queen, but maybe I just killed her. Who knows? Got that nectar on my fingers. Now I got bees all over the ground. Boy, that was not good. Hopefully they'll make their way to this frame. They're crawling up my stool though. They're gonna sting me in the butt. Don't drop the frame. I hate it when I get bees on the ground. I'm stepping on them and crawling up my leg. See, a bunch crawling up on my foot. So get my wife to come find this queen later today. Oh, I don't have to because there she is. She's on the last frame. So I didn't kill her. So there's a nice big black one with a yellow dot. It's last year's queen. So that's very nice to see. She survived the catastrophe in the cell finisher. Survived the coup. Okay, so I've taken 2 out of there. Push this back. Alright, I have to get up without stepping on bees. Okay, I want to take that one for the cell builder. I've got a box of comb here, so I'm just going to replace this comb. Just like that. Okay, now I do want a second on this hive. Here's a part of a second. I've got a bunch of foundation that I've pre-waxed. I'm going to just checkerboard that in here. Honey flow, I don't have trouble with the bees refusing to draw plastic foundation in a honey flow. That just doesn't happen. And that's something new beekeepers struggle with. And I kind of did too. I didn't so much struggle with it, but I certainly noticed that it was a principle. You know, my bees would draw wax, they'd draw foundation, they'd draw comb in the early part of the season. And during the honey flow, you get into August and it's just light switch turns off on that program and they don't draw anything. So the principle is that if they don't have a honey flow, they're not going to draw the wax. If they draw anything, it'll be recycled wax, meaning it's not white. And they'll likely strip the wax off your foundation in order to do it. And once they strip the wax off that foundation, it doesn't matter what it's made of, they're not going to draw it properly at all. So it's not the wax foundation, it's the fact that you've expected them to draw it when there's no honey flow. Okay. They sure take down a lot of syrup. They take down a lot of syrup. Typically, again, I don't smoke my builders a lot, but I have my smoker on hand. And see, there's another possibility here that I've messed things up because I moved those graph frames from that cell finisher over here, and I hadn't taken all the bees off of them. So there's a possibility that I introduced a virgin here. Do a graft into here, we'll find out in a pretty big hurry. Okay, what do we got here? This is my latest, I believe. No, this is the one before my latest. So it appears, I don't know, it's hard to say which ones they've given up on and if they're working on any of them still. You know, this one looks okay. I could move those to the incubator, but see, they've chewed out a lot of these. See, those were decent cells, it seems. They're not very big. See, that one's chewed out too. They're not very big, but I mean that they're closed up. So I think this frame is done, other than that one, perhaps. That's 45 grafts. And this one, now this is the last graft. This graft never was in the finisher. This is one my wife and I did recently, and it looks like it's still good. So I've got 3. This is her graft on top. She's got 3 misses. And this is my graft on the bottom, and I've got 0 misses. That's never happened to me before. And so these are capping here pretty soon, and I'll move them to the incubator soon after. Oh, that's nice to see that that frame is okay yet. I need to get this pollen frame in here somewhere. So I need to find a frame that they are sort of done with, meaning maybe there's no more brood, no more sealed brood on it. And if I can, rotate in more sealed brood frames, just so that I get a constant influx of young bees. See, this is just nectar. There are no brood cells at all in that. So that's a frame I can take out. It's time this was redone anyway. It's old enough. See, all of this brood I put in at the beginning, there's just a couple cells here. Just a couple cells. So that could be taken out, put it elsewhere. We'll just keep looking. We'll just go through the whole thing. I want to smoke this thing. Bees are... Okay, so there's no sealed brood there. And all that syrup they're taking down, they don't just consume it all, they store a lot of it. So they plug the whole thing out, which is no big deal. There's not a laying queen in here anyway, but same difference, they plug it out. So there's a bunch of sealed brood. I think I put this one in here recently. Okay, so that's good. There's no other resources on that. So those young bees that are emerging over there, I think that's fine. Take one more look at that. Just have to make sure there's no emergency cells. A little bit of bee bread. Well, there's a bit of bee bread on that one. So I'm going to leave that one in here. I'm going to put my new pollen frame against the cells. Now, this one I definitely need to remember to come back and check for volunteer queen cells. I'll give them 3 to 4 days, and that'll mean, you know, on the weekend perhaps sometime, I'll check that again. So we don't need a repeat. We don't need to ruin the cell starter. So that's another frame that's chock full of bee bread. There's no pollen, there's no brood, but it's right full of bee bread. So I've got bee bread flanking those two frames. That frame I don't think is any good, so I'll regraft there. These great big, we call them horseflies. They're half as big as a horse, and they bite. Oh, do they ever bite? Just a bit of sealed brood there, hardly any. So what I can do is take these out, and I can get more brood frames from the apiary. I can get more brood frames from the zombie hives if they're willing. And this is all syrup. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to put this in my honey supers. It's just syrup. So I'll just take that out. I'll finish with this, and then I'll have to deal with that. So there's 4 frames I've taken out. And I'm going to try to find 4 brood frames. I'll put 1 there and 3 here. Okay. And that's what I'll do. And just like that, I'm back. The zombie hives have contributed to the greater good once again. 4 good to fair sealed brood frames. And since these are all being newly introduced, I need to watch them. So again, by the end of the weekend, the crazy thing is I've got one too many. I need to check for volunteer queen cells. This entire builder can't take a chance on that. Okay, so I guess I got to put one of those brood frames back. But that's the beauty of the zombie hives, isn't it? They just keep giving. Now my pollen patties, and again my graft frames are here, and I'm going to take this one out. I'm going to regraft this one, but putting the patties on top of the graft frames I find is very inconvenient when it comes time to accessing the grafts. So I'll just put them beside. That should be okay. They seem to draw nice cells. These are old leftover patties. I'm getting down though. I might have to break into the box of new patties again. It's really messy. Very, very, very messy. Okay, I got some weather coming. This is what I call light syrup. So some might call 1-to-1, but I don't stress ratios. I just sort of put about half as much sugar in it as I usually would for a heavy syrup. Okay, now I'm all sticky again. It's Thursday, 29th of June, 2023. Boy, June is just about done. Tomorrow is it. Saturday is, of course, then the 1st of July, and that is Canada's birthday celebration. So that'll be really nice to celebrate that. We have some special things planned, and we'll include that in next week's vlog. But for today, I want to just continue. I brought out some comb here, these pallets. There's comb and there's foundation in there, and I have to continue to put seconds on some of these colonies. Some of them are actually showing promise. Might not be a great day for it because it's been a little bit drizzly this morning. I think the blue sky is coming back, but we'll see. It might be kind of entertaining. Well, entertaining for you, not so much for me, being in shorts again. So that's all that's going on out here, really. I'll show you the results of this little hive swap that I did here with the builder. You can see that, at least I can see, that there's far less activity. There's far less bearding and activity here at the entrance, which kind of is exactly what I was expecting, with the lack of older bees in that hive. And I put four frames of brood in there yesterday that I salvaged off of the zombie hives over in the corner. It seems that most of those bees ended up in this one. So let's have a look in there and see what it looks like. It was a rather scant little nuke before I did this. So I'm expecting it to be pretty populous now. We can look at all three of those, see what happened. Let's look in this one first, just so I'm not leaning over the one I've disturbed. Well, I hear a good bit of activity. Now, I don't remember what it looked like before, but I think there's quite a few bees there now. This one is packed right full. Definitely wasn't like that before. So they've got a population boost. This one, maybe a little. So again, these are queenless. I can use those for my queen cells or virgins. This one is more of what you'd think of as a zombie hive. So maybe they'll produce some brood I can use. I've put a star on some of these, this one and this one, just as a kind of a gold star. And this one, I believe I added that box too. That's right, those were singles when I left them. These here, I'm getting myself into trouble with these because I haven't shaken this down yet. So this is a 3 deep brood chamber. And they're just starting to work up in here. I'm putting a lot of foundation on these because of my refresh project this year, getting newer comb into the brood chambers, getting the old comb out. I've used a lot of my drawn comb, and so therefore I need to make sure I draw more foundation. It's kind of tricky. Here's something that I learned when I was newer, and it's still a principle that's a little bit tricky. You have X number of colonies and you have X number of boxes of drawn comb, and invariably, for one reason or another, you need to draw some comb every year. So maybe not a lot, but maybe sometimes a lot. And so you might think, well, I'll put all my drawn comb on, and then as my drawn comb runs out, I'll put foundation on and they'll draw that up. And it doesn't work that way, because your best time to draw comb is at the beginning of the honey flow. And so you kind of have to take inventory of your colonies, estimate your needs, take inventory of your drawn comb, and say, okay, what do I need to draw, and kind of put that on first. So it's just a big guessing game, really. I'll bring a box for that. I've got boxes of comb and foundation and that here. See, there's quite a bit of comb here. And a lot of these are frames that I've re-waxed or pre-waxed, which is great because they draw those right away. They'll use up that wax in a couple of days. They'll have that drawn out. I'm trying to keep the hive covered so they don't pound me. So now they can move up into that one. I'm trying to put more frames that aren't drawn quite fully on first. Once I use up my comb, it's gone. So I'm trying to preserve it a bit. People often ask, do you run 9 frames or 10? I run both. I always run 10 in the brood chamber. If there's any foundation, if there's any comb that's not fully and properly drawn, I'll run 10. Hence, I'm putting 10 on all these. If I have a box of complete drawn comb, then I'll run 9 in a honey super. I just find with 10 frames with comb, or with foundation, with 10 frames, so this is pretty well drawn. I'll put it all on anyway. There's some foundation there. If you have foundation, I find with 10 frames, they're a little more predictable on how they're going to draw that. Full of angry bees. Son of a gun. Holy smokes. Okay, I got told. Okay, so further to my explanation about 9 and 10 frames, I can see that this box is quite well drawn. You know, this is likely the worst frame, and they haven't really been doing a whole lot with it yet. But at least everything is drawn. There's some nectar in there. So, like I say, I like to have 9 frames in a honey super. And technically, sure, this is still a bird chamber, but I haven't shaken them down yet, is why that is. So it's kind of both a honey super and a brood chamber. But I'm treating it like a honey super. And so one of the things I can do when I keep coming with foundation frames is when I come to put a new box on, and there's 10 frames here that are now drawn, I can kind of break these free. And you have to be careful because the queen could be up in here too. I have a nice 9-frame spacer here. I've used the plastic ones. They kind of work. This one is awesome. So if you're going to go 9-frame spacer tool like this, I highly recommend you treat yourself to that nice stainless steel one, because you can actually do this. Get it in there, you can pry on the tool to center your frames. Okay, so now I have 9 frames here. I know a lot of people, they say don't, you know, it's too much work and don't want to bother with spacer tool. That's fine. So then in the new box, it also has foundation, so I still want 10 frames. But the frame I took out now moves up to the new box, and I have added 9 frames. And that kind of becomes important when you're doing many hives, because for every 9 hives, you got another box of frames. And we all know frames are not going down in price these days. Very expensive. So that's all there is here for now. I want to go back and do some other stuff. I've been building some of those little wooden 4-frame boxes in the shop, so have some stuff to finish up in there with those. And then hopefully the queen rearing goes better than it has. It couldn't go worse. I'm into round 7 or 8 of queens and I haven't got 1 queen yet. That's pretty sad. Okay, so take care, have fun with your bees, and thanks for watching.